She had everything money could buy: designer bags, front-row seats at Fashion Week, and a last name that made restaurant reservations appear out of thin air. But behind the perfect Instagram photos, she was drowning, failing every exam, suffocating under expectations she couldn't meet. Everyone had given up on her, her professors, her classmates, even her mother, until one evening in the emptiest corridor of the university, a custodian, a black woman nobody ever acknowledged, said something that shattered everything she thought she knew. She thought this woman was just emptying trash bins. She had no idea she was about to empty out every lie she'd been living. Her name was Gabriella Ashford, the only daughter of Victoria Ashford, a real estate mogul whose luxury high-rises dominated the Los Angeles skyline. Gabriella grew up surrounded by personal stylists, infinity pools, and summer homes in 3 different countries. But for all she had, one thing was missing: identity. At 19, Gabriella attended one of the most exclusive private universities in California, not because she earned her way in, but because the name Ashford opened doors like a master key. No entrance exams, no merit reviews, just a generous endowment and a legacy that did the talking. Inside those glass buildings overlooking the Pacific, Gabriella was known for 3 things: her designer wardrobe, her social media following, and her academic disasters. Her grades were a catastrophe. Professors passed her out of fear, not performance. She didn't care. Why would she? One day, she'd inherit a real estate empire. What could a transcript do that her last name couldn't? She skipped lectures, ignored study groups, scrolled through her phone like the material was beneath her. When the academic advisor once called her in about her failing grades, Gabriella leaned back and said, "My mother could fund this entire department." What grade is going to change that? The quote spread like wildfire through group chats, but no one dared challenge her. Everyone, from faculty to students, walked carefully around Gabriella. No one wanted to risk losing the Ashford donation. At home, things weren't much warmer. Her mother, Victoria, was a woman of steel, sharp, calculated, a self-made billionaire who didn't believe in excuses, not even from her own blood. "You're an embarrassment," Victoria said one night after another call from the university. "If you worked for me, you'd be fired on the spot." Gabriella folded her arms, eyes rolling. "But I'm not your employee. I'm your daughter. The world doesn't care. Either you become someone, or you'll just be another rich girl with a last name and no backbone, and I won't carry you." The silence that followed felt like ice cracking. Victoria wasn't bluffing. She was dead serious. The next day, Gabriella showed up at campus like nothing happened. She pulled into the student lot in her white Range Rover, a gift from her last birthday, and walked through the plaza like it was a runway. Some students stared in envy, others in disgust. But one pair of eyes didn't look away. Hers. An older black woman, likely in her mid-40s, was emptying trash bins near the Humanities building. Her posture upright, her eyes quiet but alert. Her uniform was simple, her presence wasn't. Gabriella didn't notice her. To her, she was invisible, just the custodian. Background noise. But university began to weigh on her. More exams, more failing grades. And then came the blow. Her mother cut off her credit cards, took the car, forced her to take public transit like everybody else. One of those bitter mornings, she passed the custodian in the hallway. For the first time, she noticed the woman was humming something while wiping down a railing. "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." Gabriella stopped. "What did you just say?" The woman looked up, calm, unafraid. "Nothing you're ready to understand, girl." Gabriella laughed nervously, but something in those words stung. The woman turned and walked away like nothing happened, but Gabriella kept thinking about her. Gabriella climbed the steps of the student center with her hands gripping the straps of her now basic backpack. Everything felt different, heavier, lonelier. Gone was the confident stride she used to carry through campus. Now she walked fast, invisible, trying not to feel the weight of the stairs. That morning she got her literature exam back, a plain white packet folded in half with a cold finality to it. She opened it with the usual hope, maybe a low C, maybe a mercy grade. Grade, 16 out of 100, scrawled in red at the bottom. Did you even attend the lectures? Gabriella stared at the page, blinked, forced a laugh, looked around. No one was laughing with her. More exams came that week. Statistics, 22%. Art history, 28%. Biology, a solid 0. It wasn't funny anymore. The academic advisor called her in again. This time, her voice wasn't polite. Gabriella, you're academically at risk. I'm not talking about probation, I mean expulsion. You're statistically in the bottom 2% of the entire sophomore class. It's temporary, she shrugged. I'll get a tutor. You already had 4. They all quit. That shut her up. Later that day, as she left the office, she ducked out through the side exit to avoid being seen. And there she was again, the custodian, mopping up a coffee spill near the library entrance. She saw Gabriella, smiled politely. Gabriella stopped. You said something last time about Socrates. The woman stood slowly, wrung out her mop, and looked at her. And you remember it? Yeah, it stuck with me. Kind of weird for a custodian to be quoting ancient philosophers. The woman crossed her arms. It's weirder when a girl with the whole world at her feet can't pass a reading test. Gabriella bit her lip. That one hurt. You used to be a professor, didn't you? Not just philosophy. I taught plenty more before life threw me a curveball. Teach me then, Gabriella said, her voice breaking slightly. Help me, please. The woman studied her. One condition. You leave your name and your pride at the door. Start from 0, from the floor. Fine, Gabriella whispered. I can't keep failing. Next morning, Gabriella showed up before sunrise. The campus was still asleep, wrapped in fog and the hum of distant traffic. She walked slowly through the service entrance, gripping the composition notebook the woman had given her like it was something sacred. She found her, Amara, in the west corridor, wiping down windows with slow, deliberate strokes. She wore simple earbuds and hummed something soft. Maybe Aretha Franklin. Gabriella stood awkwardly for a moment before stepping forward. Hey, you said you'd teach me, remember? Amara paused, removed one earbud, and looked at her calmly. I remember. I also said it wouldn't be easy. I don't care. I need this. Then let's begin. But first you should know my name. Amara Okonkwo. Gabriella smiled faintly. How long have you been working here? 3 years. Before that, other universities. And before that, she paused, then looked Gabriella dead in the eye. I was a tenured professor. African American Studies and Philosophy. Gabriella's eyes widened. Why would you leave that for this? Amara folded her cloth slowly and answered without a trace of shame. Sometimes life takes everything you thought was yours and leaves you with nothing but what you know. And I still know how to teach. Gabriella nodded, overwhelmed. For the first time in her life, she saw someone truly strong without power. So where do we start? I tried reading stuff last night. I don't even know how to begin. That's the first truth, Amara said. Pride fools you into thinking you already know. But when you admit you don't, that's when you start learning for real. I can read, Gabriella muttered, slightly defensive. I didn't say you couldn't, but I'm not talking about reading words. I'm talking about understanding what's between the lines. She pulled a battered notebook from her bag. Every morning before class, you meet me here. 1 hour, and every evening after I finish my shift, you sit and write. What you learned, what you felt, what you understood. No grades, just honesty. Gabriella opened the notebook. Blank pages, an invitation, a challenge. What if I fail again? Then you're finally doing it right. The days rolled by. A strange rhythm began to form, almost sacred. Gabriella showed up early. Amara greeted her without ceremony, only questions. What did that sentence make you feel? Why do you think this character stayed silent? Can you tell me what courage sounds like? She didn't lecture. She provoked. Gabriella began to see differently. The book stopped feeling like chores. The sentences started pulling at her gut. She was learning how to feel what words were trying to say. The notebook filled up. Not with answers, but with thoughts, reflections, fears. She wrote about her mother, about pressure, about how angry she was at being hollow all the time. Amara read every word. One night, while she was writing in the empty study lounge, two girls walked by laughing loudly. One of them, Madison, an influencer with a verified badge, nudged the other and said, "Look at Gabriella now, taking life advice from the cleaning lady." Gabriella clenched her jaw, ready to snap back, but Amara gently placed a hand on her shoulder and whispered, "You don't measure depth with a shallow ruler." Gabriella looked up at her. That one line hit deeper than any insult. Later that night, Gabriella opened a message from her mother. "They updated your academic record. One last warning. Turn things around or you're out. No trust fund, no penthouse, nothing." Gabriella stared at the message. She didn't reply. But for the first time, she didn't feel afraid. She felt ready. Friday arrived with buzz and tension. The campus was alive with end-of-semester energy. Final projects, graduate school meetings, career fairs. Everyone was talking about the future. Gabriella walked through the crowd, gripping a folder full of redone essays, research papers marked with praise, and a draft of a piece titled "The Illusion of Perfection," written under Amara's guidance. She'd never been proud of anything academic before. She thought maybe, just maybe, her mother would be proud too. But when she reached the cafe where they'd agreed to meet, Victoria Ashford was already there, sitting by the window in a tailored cream suit, checking her tablet like it owed her money. "You're late," Victoria muttered without looking up. "Let's get this over with." The academic coordinator, clearly nervous, handed over Gabriella's updated report. Gabriella reached for it, but Victoria took it first. She scanned it. The grades were better. Still far from perfect, but steady improvement paired with glowing remarks from professors. Shows initiative, participating actively, significant transformation in attitude. Victoria closed the folder with a dull snap. "This is what you call progress?" Gabriella exhaled. "I'm trying. Honestly trying." "With who?" Victoria pressed. "The last tutor quit. Who's been helping you?" Gabriella paused. She didn't want to expose Amara, but something in her said it was time. "Amara, the custodian." Silence. Victoria blinked, then gave a dry, sharp laugh. "You're joking. She used to be a tenured professor. She's brilliant." "She's a custodian," Victoria cut in. "That's all that matters." Gabriella's voice rose. "She taught me more than any of your overpriced tutors. She taught me to think." Victoria took a step forward, voice low and threatening. "You're embarrassing this family. You're wasting time with people who have nothing to offer." "She sees me," Gabriella said, her voice cracking. "You never did." Victoria stared at her like she was a stranger. "If you keep going down this road, you lose everything. No car, no money, no name. Don't test me." Gabriella felt the words burn her tongue, but she said them anyway. "Maybe I need to lose everything to figure out who I actually am." Victoria didn't answer. She just walked away. The next week, Gabriella was quieter, angrier, but not defeated. The students at school noticed. The professors did too. Rumors spread. Some said Gabriella was obsessed with the custodian. Others mocked her openly. Madison posted a video of Gabriella sitting with Amara after hours with the caption, "Lessons from Losers." Gabriella didn't flinch. Instead, she printed her essay and posted it on the student forum under the title, "Learning doesn't make me weak. Ignorance does. Gabriella Ashford." The post was taken down the next day, but the message, it had already taken root. Monday morning brought a strange calm. The coastal fog had lifted. The sky was gray but quiet. Gabriella walked into campus early, clutching a coffee in one hand and a notebook in the other. She found Amara in the back stairwell, wiping down handrails near the old architecture wing. She looked up as Gabriella approached, eyebrow raised. "You're bringing peace offerings now. Coffee?" Gabriella replied, handing her one. "And something else." Amara took the cup and looked at her closely. "You've got that look. The one people get right before they say something that changes everything." Gabriella sat on the steps, notebook still in her hands. "I looked you up online." Amara's eyes narrowed slightly. You what? Not in a creepy way, Gabriella added quickly. I just wanted to know, you quoted Socrates. You teach like you've got decades of experience. And I found it. An old article. Amara Okonkwo, tenured professor at Stanford University, guest lecturer, published author, award winner. Amara closed her eyes for a long moment. That woman existed. She just doesn't get invited back anymore. What happened? Amara leaned against the railing. I blew the whistle on a plagiarism scandal involving a department chair. Big name, powerful connections. I refused hush money. They shut me out quietly, permanently. The people I trusted disappeared. And then my daughter got sick. Medical bills piled up. I lost everything except my mind. Gabriella swallowed hard. And your voice? Amara nodded softly. Then I want to make you a deal, Gabriella said. Amara raised an eyebrow. What kind of deal? I want you to teach me. Really teach me. Like I'm one of your Stanford students. Don't hold back. Don't treat me like I'm fragile. I want to learn everything you know. I want to be someone. Not because of my name, because of what I do. Amara looked at her carefully. Something was different in her eyes. Not defiance. Not arrogance. Purpose. And what's your part of the deal? I won't quit, Gabriella said. No matter how hard it gets, I'll fail, rewrite, relearn, whatever it takes. Amara stood silent for a moment. Then she extended her hand. Then we've got a deal. They shook on it. No contracts, no fancy terms, just truth. That week, things intensified. Amara built a plan. Not one based on tests, but on understanding. Gabriella read Baldwin, Walker, Coates. She started writing reflections instead of essays. She questioned systems, injustice, herself. Each night, she handed Amara a notebook filled with thoughts. And each night, Amara returned it with questions that dug even deeper. The university still didn't know. To the rest of them, Gabriella was still figuring things out. But inside, something bigger was happening. A few days later, Gabriella showed up to evening study with someone new. This is Jamal, she said. He's in my sociology class. He needs help with critical thinking. Amara smiled. Looks like we've got ourselves a class. More students came quietly, cautiously. Word spread that someone at the university was actually helping. Not grading, not judging, but teaching. The abandoned seminar room in the basement turned into their secret classroom. They read, wrote, debated, cried. It was beautiful and dangerous. One afternoon, Amara was called into the facilities office. The supervisor spoke in corporate tones. Miss Okonkwo, we've received concerns. Students are reporting that you're gathering groups after hours. It's unorthodox. I'm teaching, she replied simply. You're not a certified instructor here. It's not in your job description. Amara stared at him. Neither is saving a student's life, but I did that anyway. The supervisor didn't answer, but Amara knew what was coming. Gabriella heard about it the next day. They told you to stop? Yes. That's insane. You're helping people. I know, Amara interrupted, but that's what systems do. They don't attack what's broken. They attack what's working, if it wasn't meant to work that way. Gabriella clenched her fists. I'm going to tell my mother. I'll go to the board. I'll go public. Not yet, Amara said firmly. Your voice needs to be strong enough to stand on its own first. Not your mother's name, yours. Gabriella nodded. She understood. The revolution had already begun. Winter crept into Los Angeles, painting the mornings in mist and silence. The campus walkways were quieter, darker. But inside Gabriella, something brighter was growing. A kind of light she couldn't explain. One morning, Amara met her in the old seminar room, the one no one used anymore. She sat her down, folded her hands over a book, and looked her in the eyes. It's time I tell you the one thing no one teaches. Gabriella leaned forward. I'm listening. The secret isn't in grades or textbooks or diplomas. The secret to real learning is transformation. She stood, pacing slowly. Most people learn to pass, to survive, to repeat what someone told them and hope it's enough. But you don't change like that. You change when something inside you breaks and rebuilds stronger. Gabriella was silent. You've started that process. But you need to know what real learning feels like. It's messy, it's painful, it's personal, but it's real. She handed Gabriella a worn book with a deep purple cover. "This saved me," she said. "The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. I read it when I lost everything. It brought me back." Gabriella opened the cover. Handwritten notes filled the margins. "You're giving me this? I'm trusting you with it." "Why me?" Amara sat back down. "Because when I saw you that day, you weren't arrogant. You were drowning, and something in you still wanted to live." Gabriella clutched the book. "I'm going to read every word, and then write something real, not for me, for you." Amara stood to leave, picked up her cart and supplies. Before exiting, she turned. "Next time someone asks how you're doing in school, don't say, 'I'm improving.' Say, 'I'm becoming someone.'" Gabriella sat there long after she left, the book in her hands, her chest heavy, not with fear but with meaning. She didn't want to just pass anymore. She wanted to matter. Something had shifted. You could see it in the way Gabriella walked. She no longer moved through campus like a celebrity, but like someone awake. She still wore nice clothes, but the weight behind her eyes was different now. Not empty, focused. Most professors didn't know what to make of it. The arrogant heiress was now asking questions in class, writing full essays, volunteering for group discussions. One day, during sociology, she raised her hand. "Can we talk about how the curriculum ignores systemic racism in housing policy like it's not the foundation of wealth inequality?" The room went silent. Even the professor hesitated. "Where'd you learn that?" she asked, intrigued. "Morrison, Baldwin, Coates, and a woman who knows how to teach." No one knew how to respond. But no one forgot that moment either. Gabriella wasn't just changing herself. She was seeing others. The quiet student who always sat alone in the quad. The classmate who worked 2 jobs after school and still showed up on time. The professor who gave brilliant lectures but never got the recognition she deserved. And she noticed something else. Once you learn to really see people, you start to realize how many go unseen. Before we continue with this story, please subscribe to this channel. My mom and dad said I can't get to 1,000 subscriber, let's prove them wrong. Don't forget to like this video, tell us in the comment where you are watching from, and share to more people. Now, let us continue. Each day with Amara continued like clockwork. Mornings of deep questions, evenings of writing. She was building something. Not just better grades, a better self. The essays became more personal, more political, more powerful. Amara corrected them with tough love, red ink, sharp notes. Don't just say it, mean it. This sentence is pretty but hollow. Rewrite it with your soul. Gabriella rewrote, over and over. She stopped caring about what people thought, not because of arrogance, because she finally knew who she was becoming. One afternoon, Gabriella brought another classmate to their study session, then another, and another. Soon, the abandoned seminar room turned into a quiet revolution. Amara taught circles of 5, 6, sometimes 10 students after hours. They weren't just learning to write, they were learning to think. Books once ignored became holy texts. Quotes were shared like battle cries. If you are silent about your pain, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it. Zora Neale Hurston. The function of freedom is to free someone else. Toni Morrison. These weren't just study sessions. They were awakenings. But not everyone was pleased. One rainy afternoon, Amara was pulled into the facilities office again. "We've had complaints," the supervisor said. "You're gathering students outside of official capacity." "I'm teaching." "That's not your role." "Maybe it should be," Amara replied. "Miss Okonkwo, we're going to have to ask you to stop." She left the office without another word, but her back was straighter than ever. The next morning, Gabriella found out. "They're shutting you down." "They're scared," Amara said. "Of what?" "Of someone with no power teaching students how to have real power." "I'll speak out. I'll go public, call my mother." "No," Amara said, placing her hand on Gabriella's shoulder. Not yet. Your voice needs to stand on its own. Not as an Ashford. As Gabriella. Gabriella nodded, teeth clenched. But something inside her said the storm was close. The change they'd created, it couldn't be hidden forever. It happened faster than she expected. Gabriella walked out of her apartment after class, drenched from the rain, gripping a paper with a bold red A+ on it, the first she'd earned all year. The essay was titled, "The Courage to Be Nobody." Her professor's comment, "You found your voice." She wanted to show her mother, just once, not for approval, for truth. She found Victoria standing beside her Mercedes in the parking garage, speaking to someone over Bluetooth about a property deal. "Mom," Gabriella said, holding the paper, "I want to show you something." Victoria took it with a blank face, scanned the title, raised an eyebrow. "Is this a personal essay?" "It's a real essay from my critical theory class. I got an A+. "Gabriella, this is a diary entry about feelings. This isn't academic. It's sentimental. It's about growth, about learning." Victoria tossed the paper onto the passenger seat. "Who taught you to write like this?" Gabriella hesitated, then said it clearly. "Amara, the custodian." Silence. Victoria stepped forward, voice low and full of venom. "You're telling me you're learning from someone who mops floors?" "She was a tenured professor at Stanford before. She's a failure now." Gabriella's fists clenched. "She's done more for me than you ever have." "If you don't stop seeing her, you lose everything," Victoria warned. "Your money, your apartment, your name." "Then maybe I need to lose it all," Gabriella said, trembling, "to figure out who I really am." Victoria stared at her coldly. "Pack your things. You're done." The next day, Amara was gone, fired early, no warning, escorted to the gate, no chance to say goodbye. Gabriella searched the halls, empty, her cart, her apron, all gone. She felt like she couldn't breathe. Her grades started slipping again, not because she didn't know the material, but because her fire was gone. She walked like a ghost. The seminar room was empty now. Then came the final blow, a bulletin board announcement. End-of-year keynote speech contest. Topic: What it means to win in life. Gabriella stared at the paper, then went home and wrote. All night. Not for credit, not for a grade, for her. The announcement was posted in bold letters at the Student Center. Senior Keynote Speech Contest. Topic: What it means to win in life. Open to families and the community. It was the final assignment of the year, and the stakes were high. Scholarships, internship offers, public recognition. For most students, it was just another hoop to jump through. But for Gabriella, it was something else. It was war. That same morning, she found out Amara had been fired. Early, quietly, no chance to say goodbye. They said it was budget cuts. Everyone knew better. She left without fanfare. Gabriella sat in the empty library, notebook open, hands shaking. She stared at the pages filled with Amara's words, her corrections, her questions. Learning is transformation. Pride is a trap disguised as protection. You don't need permission to become someone new. She closed the notebook and opened a new one, and wrote. Not for grades, not for applause, for truth. The night of the speech contest arrived. The auditorium was packed. Parents in designer clothes, students in business casual, university scouts in the back row with clipboards. Gabriella stood behind the curtain wearing a simple black blazer and white blouse. No jewelry, no brand logos, just her and her story. Her name was called. She stepped onto the stage. The room fell quiet. She looked across the crowd and began. My name is Gabriella Ashford. Some of you know me as the girl who wasted a golden ticket, who didn't care, who failed. They say I had everything, but I didn't have the one thing that mattered. Someone who believed in me, until she showed up. She paused. She wasn't my professor, not officially. She wasn't paid to help me. She had no office, no authority. Just a cart and a heart big enough to see through my fear. She scanned the audience. She taught me how to read between the lines in books and in life. She taught me how to write, how to think, how to listen. She didn't just clean the floors of this university. She cleared the fog in my head. The air shifted. People leaned forward. But she was fired, silenced, because systems don't like it when someone from the bottom starts making a real difference. So today, I'm not speaking to impress you. I'm speaking to honor her. She held up the notebook. She told me learning was transformation, that real winning isn't about being rich or powerful. It's about becoming someone worth remembering. Then her voice softened. She might not be here right now, but she's in every word I'm saying. So what does it mean to win in life? It means waking up, letting go of your name, finding your truth, and using it to lift others. Silence. Then one clap. Then another. And then the room exploded into applause, a standing ovation, tears. Even some of the faculty were crying. From the back of the room, a woman with locks pulled into a ponytail and quiet eyes wiped a tear and smiled. Amara. She had come back quietly, just to see her shine. And Gabriella? She wasn't an Ashford that night. She was her own name. The video of her speech spread fast, first through students, then alumni, then the press. Billionaire's daughter credits university custodian for saving her life. That headline traveled further than any Ashford development deal ever had. Amara was offered a speaking engagement at a local college, then another, then a teaching position. Doors reopened, not because of a resume, but because of a truth that couldn't be ignored anymore. Gabriella passed every class, not with pity, with purpose. She declined Ivy League graduate programs and chose a small school focused on social justice and education. When asked why, she said, "Because I want to teach the way she taught me, and build the kind of place where no one has to ask to be seen." The sun was high over Los Angeles the day Gabriella knocked on a modest apartment door, holding an envelope. Amara opened the door, wearing a simple cardigan and a look of quiet surprise. "You didn't have to come all the way out here." "I did," Gabriella replied, handing her the envelope. Inside, her university diploma, her graduate school acceptance, and something else. A handwritten proposal. "I want to start something," she said. "A center, a place where people can learn like I did, with honesty, with depth, without shame. I want to call it the Amara Institute." Amara read the letter, then looked up, tears in her eyes. "Why me?" "Because everything I am now started with you." "Only if we do it together," Amara whispered. "Always." Months later, the Amara Institute opened its doors in a repurposed art center in the heart of the city. Classes, mentorship, late-night writing circles. Students who had been written off now had a second chance. Amara taught again, with chalk, with books, with freedom. Gabriella ran the center's programs, but never stopped learning. And the city took notice. Awards came, articles followed, but the real reward came when a student, 14 years old and struggling, handed Amara a notebook and said, "This place made me feel smart for the first time." She cried that day, and so did Gabriella. As for Victoria, she came quietly to the Institute's opening, stood in the back, watched her daughter speak about justice, humility, and healing. After the event, they met outside. "I didn't expect to cry," Victoria admitted. "I didn't expect to forgive you," Gabriella said. They hugged, not as mother and heiress, but as two women trying. Years passed. The Institute grew. One evening, Gabriella took the stage again, this time for a National Education Award. She held the microphone, paused, and said, "They said I failed everything, until I learned one thing that changed my life. That greatness doesn't come from being seen. It comes from seeing others. And sometimes the person who teaches you the most isn't in a boardroom. They're holding a mop, quoting philosophers while no one's listening. Her name is Amara Okonkwo, and she didn't save just my grades. She saved my soul." If you believe in stories that inspire, challenge, and give voice to those who are often unheard, hit that subscribe button below. More powerful journeys are coming, and we'd love to have you with us. Thank you so much for watching.